A lead is a lead is a lead to me. I mean, I just dog them until they're gone. Till I know it's not going to happen.
So
So
everybody you've met with is on some kind of a touch campaign
yes. Hmm.
indefinitely. And most effectively, is it still just dropping them a call and what are you using, Sly Broadcast, or are you doing direct? Are you sitting down once a week and just dropping a personal message?
I usually do slide dial and leave a message, but then I also send an email to them.
Excellent. Excellent.
I do both. I do both.
Is there any kind of maturation process that you've seen at all from the lead to listing? Like from the first time you meet them, do you have an average for where they're ready to actually take an action?
Well, I really drive home I first of all, if they're thinking of listing their house, I always tell them 2 months before the foreclosure date is when they need to pull the trigger. Um, and the same thing with a loan modification application. I tell them if you don't have a plan at a minimum of 2 months, then you're going to struggle and you're going to creep forward to a foreclosure date and completely exhaust your options to do anything.
And I guess finally it's this. Even for those that aren't extremely confident at the front door, I still assert this about the monster. Is the monster at the end of the day, even if you're not confident, can you just do it on the numbers game of just encountering enough people to get the listing from your perspective?
Yes. And I just, for those of the people that are listening that have not gotten out there and started this whole program yet, I didn't know what the heck I was doing when I first started. But what I did is I just threw myself out there with blind faith and just started tagging and showing up at appointments. And I really was not good at it in the beginning. I let things shut me down like, oh, I've already applied for my loan mod, or I'm going to reinstate my loan, or they say my friend is going to list the house for a short sale. Those are things that used to shut me down right in the beginning. I said, okay, well, great. I'm glad you got a plan. I'm glad you got it handled. Here's my information. If you need any additional information, I'm here to help you as an advocate. And I'd walk away. But there were missed cues in there that I wasn't sure how to react to until I continued to keep knocking at those doors on those appointments that were set. And I just got better and a little bit more free flow with, how to overcome some of those comments. But that comes with practice.
Yeah, I agree. And I'm watching it now with Kevin, and I get where my deficiencies are in it. Going to the door and being a wrecking ball bank guy does not get you a whole lot of time in front of somebody who's trying to keep their house. And I get that. I'm wondering climate-wise, just so that my own perception, I'm on a quest. Are the real estate agents of the Arizona area struggling to find listings right now? Is it tough out there in Arizona?
Yeah, I think it is. And our inventory's low. So yeah, I think there's a lot of competition to get listings.
I agree. I agree. And I don't want to make this a commercial for all of you that have already invested in the monster, but I hate to say it. I don't know any other way in the current market with the perception of the homeowner and the perception of the real estate agents are the same. They're scared and they don't know what's going to happen with real estate. They just don't. So they're fighting and trying to cling to ideas. And I heard this from Kevin. He was telling me that he tagged a house a couple of weeks ago, met with him on Friday, and they listed with somebody else on Monday. That tells me that there's something broken in what he did on Friday. And again, you have to keep getting on that horse. How long was it before you actually started to see a constant flow from the listings, a constant flow of listings from the monster, where it was just, I got a routine, I'm putting up 40 tags this week, and I'm, a general, I've got an operating platform that you're kind of doing where it's kind of where it's producing listings for you?
I would say 30 days. After 30 days, I had my first listing, and then it just, the thing is you know, the more you get out there and the more people that you meet, you build that pipeline of follow-ups, and you continue to follow up with these people, and things shake loose along the way. And in the meantime, you're still out there tagging, you're still out there meeting people, you're still out there plugging your pipeline, and you're still working those follow-ups. So if you just stay in that mode all the time, it starts to, things start to shake loose.
Yeah, I agree. David, you got anything? That was awesome.
No, I spent some few hours with Mary Ann and Al the other day, so I totaled. That's why I wanted her to get on the mic there. So
I think it's amazing. Now, your background is in door knocking and cold calling, correct?
Before the
Before the
monster,
monster, yes.
it was everything I could possibly do. You
Okay,
know,
so
from door knocking and mailing out things, and you know, calling people that I had dealt with before and asking for referrals, blah 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 blah.
right,
You know, it was a
right.
lot of effort spent to do that.
And I'm going to say this to everybody. Every objection you can give me for not putting up your tags, okay? And I get that I get buyers. Anybody who has an information system like me realizes that there are people who purchase systems just to purchase systems. I'm not going to out any names, but trust me, I had that conversation with somebody I did a one-on-one with last week. They're a buying unit, as we like to call them in the business. Happens to David, happens to me. They're people who get stuff and don't use stuff. But if you're showing up to these calls, it tells me that either you have a crazy voyeur attitude, or you're listening to this, or you're listening to this replay. You want listings. That's the bottom line. Now, the reason I bring that up, you understand the point of a pivot, and I've been having this discussion with Kevin, and I don't think I'm doing I guess I'm doing this recording. It's great that there's coaching students here. I'm creating something for Kevin. I got to admit, I want a perfect Kevin going out there, and I don't want him to be frustrated. How important is it to insert pivots in the conversation where they understand, one, that you're a real estate agent, two, that there are alternatives? Like, you've got, to me, it seems hugely important not to be mono-tracked, and I can see this happening with the coaching students. I'm an advocate. I'm here to talk about your loan mod. If you don't want to talk about your loan mod, darn, I didn't get the listing. Well, you're only talking about one thing. And we all know what they're going to say at the front door. As somebody who's done the cold calling and the door knocking route, you understand the points of the pivot of, hey, do you or somebody you know, or how important are inserting those pivots and inserting that you are an agent and that is an alternative.
Well, you know, it's
I sound like Tom Ferry now, don't I? You've got to insert pivot.
You know, all I can tell you is, as far as asking for referrals and stuff like that, after I've talked to them, blah, 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 or helped them, or maybe sold something, I always ask for referrals there then. And I also ask for a letter or an email of recommendation. And I keep those, and I usually have a couple of pages of recommendations in my package when I leave it with them, so that they know that I'm actively advocating for homeowners, and these are some of the people that I've helped, and they were nice enough to write something. I'm not quite sure what your question is about.
My question is, when you're having your dialogue with the homeowner, you're not mono-tracked on the, let's talk about your loan mod, let's talk about your loan mod, let's talk about your loan mod. I'm an advocate, let's talk about your loan mod. Okay, great. Can I follow up with you about the loan mod? At some point, there has to be a discussion of you as being one of the alternatives to the foreclosure, listing that property. I think it's got to. I don't know how important it is. You and David have both a very eloquent way of inserting that, but I think it's crucial. I think if you're there for one specific thing only, I don't know. I think you're limiting your chances of getting the listing out of it. At the end of the day, without sounding crass, this is about getting a listing.
Yeah. But you know what? I don't even think about that when I initially meet with them. I don't think about the listing. I think about helping. What's going on with you? And, as far as zoning in on the loan mod, sometimes that's not always appropriate. You might ask them, have you ever applied for a loan mod before? And a lot of these people got a loan mod 2 years ago and they're still struggling. And they're trying to go back in and apply for another one, or I ask them, I say, what actually caused your hardship, before, and has that hardship been resolved? Are you back on track? A lot of times they'll share that they were out of work and now they are working again. And I always ask them things like, and this is just a free flow conversation with them. And what I always ask them, especially let's say, for instance, they say, oh, we're going to reinstate. And I ask them, do you know how much your reinstatement amount is? Because sometimes they don't even know.
Right. I'm going to cure all $15,000 of what I owe them. Wow.
Right. And they also don't realize that there's legal and late fees that are tagged on top of that.
Right.
So that number can be a real runaway train for them. And I ask them, I say, okay, if they know what their loan amount is or their arrearage is on their mortgage to reinstate, then I ask them, are you prepared to start making your mortgage payments again? And what are those? What's your mortgage payment? I ask them to tell me, and it's not that I'm being nosy, but I want them to tell me so that it drills into them, okay, this is what I'm on the hook for once I reinstate the loan. My $1,500 a month or $1,800 a month payment's going to kick back in. And I point blank ask them, do you think that's going to work for you? Or is it going to continue to be a hardship and a stretch for you? I just ask them.
It's pretty reasonable. There are questions. Question number 1 from Blyson. Are you doing any other forms of marketing, or are you just monstering for all of your listings?
I'm just monstering. It's been so successful for us, and I have more work, more follow-ups, more everything than I can handle now. And it's just Al and I. So we're busy. So
let's follow up with that. What's your batch and drop on Monster? How many batches are you putting out per week consistently?
Consistently, Monday, Tuesday, 18 tags per day.
Pretty straightforward. And you're
let me just kind of elaborate on this. So when we chatted last week, Al made something really very clear, and what he made clear is that they have not missed a week in a really, really, really long time. I mean, week in, week out. Some weeks are better than other weeks, right. And they're consistent, and their capital. And I happen to know these guys do 4 or 5 of these, listings a month, because I'm getting their short sales, and I also know that they're benefiting today from tags that they dropped months and months ago, even a year ago. Is that right, Mary Ann?
That's correct. I mean, there's some that I've followed up with for over a year. And we get to be real good friends. So, even if it doesn't work out, I have made such an impression with these people because I follow up. I'm tenacious. I'm a professional. And they know that by my actions and how responsible I am in staying in touch. And because of that, whether something happens between us or not is another thing. But my phone rings all the time for people that I have had experiences like that with. And they send their friends, relatives to me, and I always drill on to them that this is a small portion of what I do, and that's advocating for homeowners. My traditional business is my real estate, is my buyer and seller traditional real estate. but this is just one section of what I do in my business